Hey everyone, I'm Mark Morgan, and today I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to play the blues. The blues is both a musical form and a musical genre. Musicians like B.B. King, Muddy Waters, Bessie Smith, and Stevie Ray Vaughan popularized this style of music. Being that the blues is a predecessor to jazz, it only makes sense that every jazz musician knows how to play a blues. The form of the blues can vary from 8 to 16 measures, but typically the blues consists of 12 bars. It's important to know the form of the blues so that you can keep your place while improvising over it. Let's take a look at a very basic blues progression. You only have 3 chords throughout the entire form, the 1, 4, and 5 chords. We label each of these chords according to where each note lies in the scale associated with the key of the piece. Now the blues is a little bit different from traditional harmony. I'm not going to go into great detail here, but just know that some of the rules that apply to traditional harmony don't necessarily apply to the blues. For instance, the tonic, or 1 chord, in traditional harmony is usually some form of a major chord, but in the blues, it's a dominant chord. The form and progression of a blues is the same in any key. A blues in the key of concert F, for example, would have the following chords. The 1 chord is an F7 because it's the first note of an F major scale. The 4 chord is a B flat 7 because it's the 4th note of an F scale. And the 5 chord is a C7 because it's the 5th note of an F scale. The form would be the 1 chord, or F7 for 4 bars, the 4 chord, or B flat 7 for 2 bars, back to the 1 chord, or F7 for 2 bars, the 5 chord, or C7 for 1 bar, the 4 chord, or B flat 7 for 1 bar, and the 1 chord, or F7 for 2 bars. Let's listen to how this sounds. It's important to listen to the chord progression and memorize how that sounds. You need to pay particular attention to the main transition points in the progression. The 4 chord in the 5th bar, for example, is one of those points. If you can make the 1st, 5th, and 9th measures your anchor points for transitions, it'll help keep your place in the progression. Pretty soon, it'll just become second nature, and you'll be able to anticipate the chords that are coming up because you familiarize yourself with the progression. So with a chord progression like this, there are a lot of variations that you can use. You can add chords or even change the order. Jazz musicians like to change things up a bit, so we're going to add a chord and change the order slightly. In the 2nd bar, we're going to change the F7 to a B flat 7, the 4 chord. In the 9th bar, we're going to add a new chord, the 2 chord, or G minor 7. In the 10th bar, we're going to insert our 5 chord, C7, and in the 12th bar, we're going to change that to a C7 as well. This is very typical because the 5 chord has a very strong pull back to the 1 chord. This is called a turnaround. To start improvising over a blues, you don't need to know a lot of music theory. In fact, you can play a single scale that'll work over the entire progression. We call this the blues scale. This scale is used to convey a funky or down-home feeling. Now again, I'm not going to go into a lot of theory, but I will break down the notes of a blues scale. The scale consists of the 1st note of the key, the 3rd note but with a flat, or flat 3, the 4th note, the 4th note again but with a sharp, or sharp 4, the 5th note, and the 7th note but with a flat, or flat 7. Like I said, you can use this scale over the entire progression. There is one note, however, that you want to use as a passing tone and not as a note that you want to land on, and that's the sharp 4. This note has a lot of tension because it's a tritone away from the 1 chord, also known as the tonic. Used in passing, it sounds great and adds a lot of color to your lines. If you haven't already done so, check out my video on learning how to play in the jazz style. Now you can use this scale as a way to play in the chord progression, but if you aren't playing in the style correctly, your lines just aren't going to sound authentic. You need to do a lot of listening to professional musicians to hear how they play over a blues and mimic their style. I'll leave a list below to some musicians to check out playing the blues. One thing to keep in mind when you're just beginning to play a blues is not to overplay. Starting out, play very simple lines in 2 or 4 bar phrases, meaning come to a stopping point or a break at the end of every 2nd or 4th bar of the line you're playing. This will help you hear the changes in the chord progression. You can even play simple 2 or 4 bar licks or riffs that work over the entire progression. Using the blues scale as a way to play over the chord progression is a great way to have some immediate success. But we can also practice what we call making the changes by demonstrating that we're able to follow along each time a chord changes. Start by playing each root or tonic note of each chord. You should become familiar enough with this progression to anticipate the major changes in the chord progression. Try improvising with your blues scale, but every time you come to a new chord, try to land on the tonic note of that chord. The one exception will be the G minor 7 in the 9th bar. Although a G is not in the blues scale, it is in the major scale of the key we're in, so just add that for one measure. You should be able to hear the blues progression in the lines that you play without a backing track. Practice your 2 and 4 bar phrases and see if you can hear the progression while you play. It's also extremely helpful to learn the melody or the head of standard tunes that use a blues progression. I'll leave a list of these tunes in the description box below. Another more advanced way to make the changes is to play the notes in the scales associated with the chords of the progression. Now that's a more in-depth topic that I would be happy to discuss with those of you who are interested. But for now, I'll leave a link in the description box below to a sheet that has all the scales associated with each chord. Guys, thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If you like the content here, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button, and also leave me a comment in the section below letting me know how this technique worked for you. Until next time, keep practicing, and I'll see you soon with another quick and easy trumpet tip.